All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. We are back on campus. This is another edition of the Bullet Sports Spotlights. I am the Director of Athletic Communications, Corey Jordan, and joining me today for, I don't know if this is the fourth, fifth time, we've had a lot of these through the summer, is Executive Director of Intercollegiate Athletics. It's a mouthful, Mike Mattia. And Mike, I just looked today, and it's almost the 5-month anniversary of the first time we did this. But we're meeting under much different circumstances now. When we met in March 25th was the exact date when we first kicked off these spotlight videos. We were talking about the unfortunate circumstances of leaving campus, looking at our spring seasons being stopped at that point. We didn't know what the outlook was for the spring seasons. And now we know what the outlook is for the fall seasons, but the important thing is everybody's back to campus. The college has been saying right along, using the hashtag Better Together, and we've managed to bring back the whole of campus almost for an exciting fall semester. It's going to be devoid of intercollegiate competition. We'll get into that a little bit and what that's going to look like. But, Mike, if you could just, welcome back as usual for what I hope is a happier chat. But if you want to talk about the overall process that the college has undertaken, not just from athletics, but across the board to get our students back on campus, and then the response from the students themselves and the staff as well. I'll just open it up to you on that.
Sure. Thanks, Corey, and thanks for having me back. And those 5 months flew by, and they were crazy 5 months at that, and one that I hope that we don't ever have to repeat again. It's great to be back on campus. It's great to have the energy of our students back. It's you can really feel the palpable energy which was needed. I was able to get back into my office for some hours around the summertime, and it was just too dead and too quiet around here to have the students back. And that's why we get into this business, right? To have those interactions, and very excited to have everybody back on campus. Yeah, and it was a super busy summer to try to put all the planning in place to get back. And very proud of our department and very proud of this institution for the tireless work that has been put in by everybody on campus to get our students back in a safe and healthy way. And starting up our second week of class today, and it's the third week that our students have been on campus, and so far things are going great. We're in good shape with our number of tests, and most are negative, and the positives we have. The plans that we have in place have been able to combat that and take care of those students that need it in the way that they do. So fingers crossed that we keep rolling in that same direction. Students are doing a great job. And I can't tell you how proud I am, as I mentioned, of our staff, how tireless they were. Today was the first day we opened up the Jaeger Center. And I know Cindy Wright and Mike Hoyt spent all summer long trying to make that work. And I think so far, all indications that we're doing well, and we're under those thresholds in terms of the population that we can have at one point in the building. And one of the great things about this whole process has been the collaboration among everybody throughout the entire campus. We always did a good job of working with our partners on campus, but this made it even more so. And everybody, better together, right? We all undertook that mantra and knew to make it work and to make a great experience as we possibly could for our students and student athletes was to work with each other. And there are hiccups along the way, and there are things that we're going to have to adjust, but everybody's been extremely patient and understanding and willing to step out of their comfort zone and help where needed. So very proud of our college, very proud of the athletic department, and we just got to keep this thing rolling through Thanksgiving.
Yeah, as you said, just having people on campus after, we really didn't come into the office a whole lot. We weren't supposed to, and now we've been able to filter in a little bit with the schedule we have, but just seeing the students walking across campus into the various buildings, seeing more staff members on campus interacting a little bit, it's been energizing, uplifting. I think we're all feeling a little down through the summer months, and just the short interactions I've had with some student athletes. Even this morning, I walked into Jaeger Center and ran into a couple members of the wrestling team, and we caught up on what they've been up to. It's just reinvigorating and really gets you excited for the prospect of the year ahead, which is a segue into the next question. Now we know that there's not going to be any athletics intercollegiate competition this semester. We are engaging in athletic activity. We've talked about this at the various town halls and stuff, but from your perspective in the AD's chair, what are your expectations for the teams and coaches as we proceed into this, planning process and the schedule for the fall?
Yeah, I was actually just talking about this yesterday with my wife, Corey. I've been involved in organized athletic competition, and I was mostly a fall student athlete. Obviously, football was the sport I played through college, but I was a 3-4 sport athlete up until that point, until college. And this time of year, you always get that feeling of starting up preseason. And I still have that feeling even to this day, and this is the first year where we're really not going to be conducting your traditional preseason. But thankfully, we're going to still be able to have organized activity. All of our coaches and athletes are going to be able to engage, interact with each other. The expectation is the same expectation we always have had, obviously with the understanding we're doing it in a COVID world, of our coaches providing the best experience they possibly can for their student athletes. That's always been goal number one for me since the day I started here, and will continue to do so, even in this unique year that we're going to be embarking on. So, like I said, we're going to be able to do some organized activity. It's going to start out in small groups, and we're going to start out mostly doing some strength and conditioning exercises. That has more to do with, staving off catastrophic injury and getting acclimatization to heat injuries and things like that, more so than the COVID world. Once we get through that acclimatization phase, then we're going to start really getting into the COVID world in terms of the small groups and not really being able to engage in any contact drills until much later on in our phased-in process. So I expect our coaches to have the same energy to be there for their athletes like they always have, and to get better and improve. That's what a lot of our coaches have been preaching throughout this entire process. When it's just online, well, we're going to be the best that we can in this venue that we can today. When it's just, finishing up their finals for last spring, hey, you're going to do the best you can for that day and get a little bit better each day. So that's all we're going to ask of our coaches and student athletes is work hard, provide the best experience, and just get a little better every single day. And, we're hoping that we can start competitions back up again in January. And if that's the case, well, we're going to be the best in this environment of all of our peers and opponents that we can to prepare ourselves for whenever we get competition again to be Gettysburg great.
Yeah, and it should be interesting to see some of those inter-squad competitions too. I mean, guys vying for starting positions potentially in the spring if we get back to sports. And those added months are certainly going to rev up those competitions. I tell you what, Mike Hoyt has done a great job in getting that strength and conditioning stuff set up. He's got his staff going. They're planning to go like all day for, I don't even know, 10, 12 hours trying to get everybody situated. And wait till the athletes see some of the venues. I had a chance to check out the weight room in Hauser, and it's got a real athletic varsity kind of weight room feel to it. And that's going to be run through Mike Hoyt and the strength and conditioning team. And then the strongman setup out at Shirk Field with some tires. We saw some slosh pipes and sandbags. That is going to really open things up. And I think these athletes are really in for a treat and a different kind of plan for training this year. It's really going to, I think, advance some people that may be a plateau usually during preseason. Yeah. Holding that slosh pipe above your head for a few seconds and trying to walk over uneven ground is definitely a workout. I gave it a go myself. And yeah.
I was just about to say, Corey, I can totally see you out there giving that a try. And Mike's done a phenomenal job, as we've said. And it's good that we have a lot of different activities that our athletes are going to be able to participate in, right? They're disappointed, just like all of us are, that they're not going to be able to jump right into practices like they typically do. But I think we're going to make it competitive environment enough to get them through and have a lot of different venues and different activities that they're going to be able to utilize. So it's not too boring and mundane and monotonous, to help them continue to improve upon their strength and conditioning and injury prevention during these months in the fall.
the student athletes I was with last week, as we were doing some videos, some COVID related videos on the proper way to spot, keep social distance, and utilize the equipment, and sanitize the equipment too. They just seemed a little. I mean, they obviously was the first thing they had really done since they got back, but they were reinvigorated and excited to be out there flipping old tractor tires. But you know, just a new era and a new way to train, and it's just exciting. So, Mike, really wanted to touch base about, the first 2 years you've been here. Obviously, you're ending your third year. The last 6 months, we'll give it, has been very tumultuous, a lot of adversity there for staff in general. But there's a lot of good stuff that has happened in your first 2 years, too. So I wanted to open it up to you and just talk about some of your favorite moments from those first 2 years here at Gettysburg.
Sure, and it all starts with the people. That was one thing when I went through my interview process, and I being involved in the Centennial for as long as I have, I've gotten to know Gettysburg College, and that's one of the things that attracted me to look at the position when it became open. And through my interview process, everybody was phenomenal, went above and beyond what I anticipated. And then when I got here, it was even better. And me and my family have been welcomed so warmly here. And now that I'm entering in my third year, I'm really starting to get my feet under me and really feel a part of this community. And you go through a crisis with a group of people who you don't know so well, right? I'm still new and still getting myself acclimated and integrated into the Gettysburg community. And these last 6 months have really escalated that process. So it's the silver lining in some of this for me and my family. We've really gotten to know our neighbors in the neighborhood that we live in, with everybody out and about walking around in our own little kind of neighborhood bubble we've been with. And then we're just working across campus for the common theme here of getting the campus reopened and our students back safe and healthy, with everybody on campus, from working with our new president, who's been incredible and so supportive of what we've got going on in the athletic department, to everyone across campus. So that's been really special for me, that I feel really a part of this community now. And it started from day one, but it really got escalated in these last 6 months. And you go back and you think, well, what were some of the great memories that I've had? Well, obviously, all of our postseason play, our championships, I was able to be at most of the championships, Centennial Conference championships that we've won in these last 2 years. And being traveling through the NCAAs was great. I remember flying up to Boston with women's soccer, coming down and trying to get down to see men's soccer play, and riding out for golf the year before, and then flying from Kentucky with the men's team to Houston to be with the women's team. And all that stuff is a blast, and to see how appreciative the student athletes were makes it all worth it. And just watching our athletes compete, right? That's why we're kind of still a little down, right? That's again why we do it. It's the best part of our job, to see our athletes compete. And every one of our student athletes here at Gettysburg, that has impressed me more than anything else, is how hard they compete and how much they love their sport and really want to do the best they possibly can. And I'm really going to miss that this year. But that's, looking back at some of those great memories on all the different venues we have, from Shirk to Clark, to watching it on all of our teams compete. It really, really was exciting, and I'm happy to be a part of this community, and look forward to being a part of this community for a long time, and really looking forward to getting ourselves back to competition again. And I think it's going to be a great thing to bring the campus community together once we can start getting out there and having some competitions, and our athletes back out there representing the orange and blue as proudly as they do, and with the character and grace that they do. That's the other thing, how great sports play fairly with great character and as hard as they possibly can. And you really can't ask for anything more.
And I just checked this morning. We've got 4 Centennial Conference trophies sitting in our trophy case, between men's and women's golf, women's lacrosse, and women's swimming, which of course was the last one we won last year before COVID hit too. They're all there. They all look pretty shiny and new too. So that's a good thing. We'll see if we can add some more of those in the spring, if we can get back to competition. So Mike, I wanted to ask too, from a personal side of things, obviously you're a big sports guy. You've been competing in sports. You probably had a love of sports as long as I have. I hesitate to ask this question because I know kind of where you're leaning towards with at least your baseball team. What are some of your favorite pro teams, and what were your sports heroes growing up?
Yeah, thanks, Corey. I'm a Philly guy. Most people who've gotten to know me know that I'm a Philly guy. I've lived in Philadelphia. I've lived in Cleveland, Ohio for a few years. I've lived in Washington, D.C. for a long time. Spent the previous 10 years before coming here in Baltimore. But I've always been a Philadelphia sports fan, all four of their pro teams. Flyers moving on to the next round. I'm excited about that. A little disappointed with the Sixers getting swept by Boston. We just can't seem to get over the hump here. I don't know about the trust in the process in that regard, but I'm still confident that the Sixers can get it done. But Eagles, being a football guy, that's my team, and I've always been a diehard with them. And I grew up with baseball being my first love, and the story that I have that talk about the heroes. So my initial sports hero growing up was Mike Schmidt, the third baseman, and it's interesting living 10 years in Baltimore, having those discussions with the people from Baltimore about who the greatest third baseman of all time was, Brooks Robinson or Mike Schmidt. I thought I always came out on the winning end of those conversations, but the reason why Mike Schmidt was the guy for me is my grandmother, who just had her 103rd birthday last week, lived in Florida for a number of years in Clearwater while I was a little boy growing up. And she was from Philadelphia, where my dad's mom, and she would go to the Phillies spring training every year in Clearwater. My birthday is in the middle of March. She would always go, and in spring training, it's a little more relaxed. That's when the players interact with the fans a little more. She would go right up to Mike Schmidt and have him sign my birthday cards. I have about 6 or 7 birthday cards in a row where Mike Schmidt signed my birthday card. And it got to the point where they got to know my grandmother, and they would always say, "We were waiting for you, Grandma. Where's the birthday card to sign?" So Mike Schmidt, Von Hayes, all those guys. So they were my first love, and Mike Schmidt was the guy. And I was fortunate enough to be at both Game 5s in 2008 when the Phillies won the World Series. The one that was shortened by the rain, and then I was able to return the day 2 days later when they won, and which started out in the middle of the 5th inning and ended up winning that one, which was next to my own personal sporting events and some of the events that I've been working, schools I've worked at, that's up there. From the pro sporting events, things I've been to, is one of my top things. So yeah, Mike Schmidt signing my birthday cards, and I still have them stored away along with all the rest of my baseball cards and other memorabilia that I'll probably hold on to for the rest of my life.
That's great. I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, so that kind of hurts me a little bit. But they both have one World Series over the past 30 years, so they both need to pick it up. We'll see what happens. Short MLB schedule this year. Braves coming off taking 2 of the 3. Phillies squeaked one out last night. We'll give them that one anyways. So, Mike, you mentioned earlier, of course, you, your wife, and your daughter have all moved to the area too, up to Adams County, up to Gettysburg. What are some things that you've enjoyed doing within the community itself, and what are some things that are still on your to-do list as in the area?
Yeah, so I've been in cities pretty much since I've graduated college. I started out living down in Washington, D.C., and then I moved up and was living in Baltimore. And we lived literally on the Baltimore city-county line. You could throw a stone over to the city line from where we were. So the point we were at with my family, my daughter is a second grader. She's going to be going to St. Francis Xavier School here in town, and starting up second grade next week. And we were looking with where we're at in our family to kind of get out of the city lifestyle and come up to Gettysburg, which was beyond just the school and the people and the type of institution it was. The area was also attractive to us. Close enough to Philadelphia, where my family still is, close to Baltimore, where my wife's family still is. So we've enjoyed having a lot more space. That's been a lot helpful during this time of quarantine and needing to be physically distant from people. but just the slower pace of life as well. And, we've loved our times in the cities that we've lived in, but people are just nicer around here, just in general. And it's not as fast paced. People aren't as cutthroat. You stop at a stop sign and the person waves you through. That typically doesn't happen in DC and Baltimore or Philadelphia, right? Everybody's so intense and trying to get to where they need to be and what they're doing, which is fine. We've lived that lifestyle and probably been a part of that, but it's really been able to take a deep breath and have this community. We shop organically at the farms now. We get our meat at a farm and eggs from the local farm. And those are some of the great things. We love going to the Apple Harvest Festival, which unfortunately we're not going to be able to do this time. But we've been took full advantage during the quarantine period of going on hikes into a lot of areas we have. I'm a big golfer, tons of golf courses around here. I also like to ski. We have Ski Liberty just down the street from where we are. So all those outdoor activities are great, and my wife and daughter are the same in terms of wanting to get outside and get involved in things. We go over to the covered bridge, and we take some hikes through there. And my daughter wading through the ponds, and those are the neat things that we've really enjoyed that we never were able to do. And as I mentioned before, love the school, love this institution, and love the area. And we're looking to be here for a long time. And hopefully, we'll continue to be accepted and continue to do a good job so that can sustain.
So, Mike, I don't have any more questions here. I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you're a busy man. You've had a lot of Zoom meetings over the course of the last few weeks as we get everything prepared and set up for students and student athletes. So anything else you want to add? Any other words of encouragement for our fans out there?
Yeah, I just want to publicly thank my staff again for just the amazing job they've done since March all the way through with keeping their student athletes engaged, looking out for their best interest, helping them with any of the issues they have, and then starting to plan to able to get them back. It's just a great group of people who care deeply about their student athletes, work as hard as they possibly can, and always have the best interest of our student athletes in hand. And I know they're going to do a great job with all the different restrictions we have, but really getting after it to make sure that the student athletes have a phenomenal experience during this time. And we're super competitive people, so I know we're going to be prepared and ready to go once our competitions become available.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for joining us today. It's a great way to kick off 2020-21. We're all looking forward to another year, and I think leaving 2020 in the rearview mirror as fast as we can. Looking ahead to the coming weeks, we've got a very ambitious schedule. We're going to try to feature all of our coaches and staff members beginning next week with Matt Garrett and women's soccer. We'll be looking at the women's soccer team, taking a real in-depth look at all the teams week by week throughout this semester too. So, Mike, thanks a lot for joining us today and giving your thoughts on everything. The Philly thing, we'll let you have that one for this. I'll have to get some Braves gear in the background if there's any more Phillies fans out there. So, Mike, good luck with everything this semester. Looking forward to it. Again, my name is Corey Jewett. Thank you for tuning in to the Burg Athletic Spotlights.
Thanks, Corey.